Hey guys, Sue's here. Welcome back to another What's for Dinner on Keto. Easy keto meal ideas and keto recipes. Give you a little inspiration if you're living a keto lifestyle, following a keto diet. We like to just take some recipes, cover them, adapt them, check them out every single week. We do this on Sundays. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and join the crew. If you're already a subscriber, it is so nice to have you back. Let's get into the video. I wanna catch the wave. First up this week, we made another one of Carolyn Ketchum's brilliant keto recipes from over at All Day I Dream About Food. So it's this Keto Skillet Lasagna, super easy. To start with, I took about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil to a pan over medium to medium-high heat, a teaspoon of minced garlic, and a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Cooked those down together. Added 1.5 pounds of ground hamburger meat and broke it up with my meat chopper upper. This gadget is always linked in my description box. Best $5 I ever spent for the kitchen. Added a seasoning mix of a teaspoon Italian seasoning, 3/4 a teaspoon salt, and a half a teaspoon pepper. And again, just got that all worked into the meat as it is browning. Once I get my meat browned all the way through for this recipe, I did just go ahead and drain all the excess grease. I know I don't usually. Then I added about 2 medium zucchini. I did slice these thinly. I just cut them lengthways and then sliced them down thinly. Added a cup of Rayo's marinara sauce because it's so low carb and delicious. She uses regular pureed tomatoes, but it's about the same carb count. And then I just gave that a good stir. And I put the lid on for a few minutes to let my zucchini get down to the texture I wanted. Once it did, I patted it down flat and added a cup of ricotta cheese. I just added it in dollops like this and then kind of broke it apart with my spoon, but I did not spread it evenly. Make sure you check the carb count on your ricotta. I was shocked at the carbs in some of the ricotta cheese out there. To that, I added 1/4 cup grated Parmesan cheese. She uses fresh shredded. I didn't have it. And then I added 1.5 cups of mozzarella to that. Put the lid back on, simmered probably for 15 minutes until it was nice and bubbly and everything was melted. Oh my goodness, this is it plated up. I topped it with just a little bit of oregano. Oh my goodness, this was so good. And you know, the ricotta does make it a little higher carb, so try to get the lowest carb ricotta you can, but perfect keto meal prep food, and didn't even mind the texture of the zucchini after I reheated it. Next up, we made these awesome cabbage wraps. This is adapted from a falafel recipe from I Breathe I'm Hungry. I will link that down below. Had to make the sauce 2 times because I followed her recipe to a T the first time, and it was too liquidy. So second time, 2 tablespoons of tahini paste to a bowl with a teaspoon of minced garlic added to that, a tablespoon of lemon juice, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, and I just mixed that together really well until I could see the thickness of it. Added 1 tablespoon of water and mixed it together some more and added 1 more tablespoon of water. And this was the perfect consistency for me. So in her recipe, she does use 3 tablespoons of water, and that is too runny for me. But as always, the original recipe will be linked down below, so you try it out and see what works for you. So after I had the tahini sauce all mixed together, I just stuck it to the side, got started on my falafel mix. So for that, I used a cup of pureed cauliflower. Now she says to use raw cauliflower and cut it down and do all that. I cheated. I used frozen cauliflower rice, and I even pureed it in my chopper. I just used a little mini chopper. I'll link a newer version of the one I used down below, but I just put the frozen one in it and pureed it, so it worked out perfectly. Then I added to that 1/2 cup of ground almonds. You can see here that I just kind of coarsely ground them also in the chopper. You want them to have some texture to them. So after I work those 2 things together really well, then I added a seasoning mix to that of a tablespoon ground cumin, 1/2 tablespoon ground coriander, a teaspoon kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon cayenne pepper, and just worked that into the cauliflower and almonds really well. Added a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic to that. And then 2 tablespoons of fresh, roughly chopped Italian parsley. Now, I used parsley in all my recipes this week. Guys, I usually leave it out, but it really made a difference in this one. After I mixed that in, I added 2 large eggs and also worked that in together pretty well before adding 3 tablespoons of coconut flour to the mix. And once I had that well incorporated, I went ahead and got a pretty large saute pan and put it on the stove over medium-high heat. And I just added a half and half mix of olive oil and avocado oil. And once my oil was heated, I just kind of patted my falafel mix out into little patties. I guess I probably did 1.5 to 2 inch wide diameter on these. I usually like my falafel as like little balls, but it's just easier to cook it when it's flatter, and then I can just break it up apart later for what I'm using it for. So when you're frying the falafel, you want to resist the urge to flip it too quickly. Make sure you wait till you can see the brown on the edges like that, and then give it a turn. I think I cooked mine 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and then once they were fried, I did them in 2 separate batches, and once they were all fried, I just removed them from the pan to a paper towel lined plate to let the excess oil go ahead and get out of those and let them cool down some so I could break them apart to assemble my cabbage wraps. And here it is all plated up. I did take a little bit of frozen diced avocado, just great value avocado I had in the freezer, and put that on there along with a little bit of chopped up red onion and some more of that fresh Italian parsley I've got in the fridge this week. These were super, super good. Taste just like the real deal falafel. If you've never tried falafel before, give these a shot. You might surprise yourself. Next up, we adapted an awesome recipe from Peace Lovin' Low Carb. I'll link the original down below for fried cabbage with kielbasa. This is a perfect keto comfort food. Was so stinking good. So to start with, in a large pot over medium to medium-high heat, I added 3 tablespoons of butter. To that, I added half of a large onion chopped up, and I think it equaled out to about a cup of chopped onion, and I just cooked that down for a couple minutes until my onion started to get a little translucent. To that, I added 2 heaping teaspoons of minced garlic, and again kept cooking that until my garlic was fragrant. Added 2 tablespoons of sherry vinegar, cooking sherry, red wine, to this, and mixed that all together. And then to that, I added about 14 ounces of sliced kielbasa. For this, I used uncured kielbasa. You can buy like pretty big packs of it at Costco. Sliced it on a slant pretty thinly, a lot more thinly than I normally would, and put that in there, and I'm just going to cook it until my sausage gets a little brown. Once it does, I added 3 more tablespoons of butter to the top of that, and then here is where I cheated a little. I didn't want to shred the rest of the cabbage that I had in the fridge, so I actually used coleslaw mix that's just straight cabbage, and this one was like an angel hair. And these bags weren't labeled with how much they contain, but I weighed them, and they are 10-ounce bags. I used 2 of them, and I really like the results this angel hair slaw mix had on this, and so I'll be doing it this way again. It also saved me lots of time and energy. To that, I added some red pepper flakes. She says to leave those for garnish, but I wanted them to be cooked throughout, so I added a teaspoon of those along with some sea salt and pepper and a teaspoon of paprika. I also added 1/4 of a cup Italian parsley chopped up. She said to also use that for garnish. I saved a little to the side to garnish, but again, I just wanted it cooked throughout the dish. And then I just kept cooking that until my cabbage got a little wilty, and a little brown. And I did go ahead and pop the lid on there to get that cabbage just to the right texture I wanted, which is nice and wilted and incorporated fully, but just with a little teeny tiny bit of crunch to it still. And here it is all plated up, and of course I did top it with a little bit more of that Italian parsley. I'm so proud of myself with the parsley this week. I never use it. This was so good. Stores super well in the refrigerator. It makes a big huge pot of it. I loved it with the pepper flakes cooked throughout. My toddler was begging for some of this off of me though, so the next time I make it, I'll probably leave that out just so that she can eat it and I don't have to cook a separate batch for her. Next up, made these awesome slow cooker pork chops. These are super easy. So to start with, to a little bowl, I took 1/4 cup of olive oil, heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, and a seasoning blend of tablespoon paprika, tablespoon garlic powder, tablespoon poultry seasoning, a teaspoon dried oregano, and a teaspoon of dried basil. And then I just whisked that together pretty well before adding a cup of low sodium chicken broth to that. And then I just mixed it up some more. And this is actually going to be our marinade / sauce that we cook our pork chops in. Now, for the pork chops, I did always buy pork loins at Costco. This is 3.5 pounds worth. I just took it out of the freezer, sliced it into 1 to 1.5 inch thick pork chops, and then I went ahead and scored them all the way down the top like that. Put them in my crock pot, washed my hands really well, of course. Sea salt, black pepper, and then I'm just gonna pour that sauce we made over the top. Stupid easy. Stupid easy. Like, I made this recipe, I didn't even stir it. Put my lid on here and I cooked it on high for 5 to 6 hours, and then I just steamed some cauliflower rice, plated it over the top of that, spooned a little bit of the reserve juice on it, and there you go. Topped it with some more of that parsley. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this week's What's for Dinner on Keto, easy keto meal prep ideas and keto recipes, please give me a thumbs up. Please comment down below. Share this video with your friends. The more you share it and interact with it, the more people that are trying to follow a keto diet and live a keto lifestyle will see our videos and encourage us to keep making more. Until next time, bye guys.
Yeah, we got older, but still good together. Cause you and I, we got the vibe. Yeah, you and I, still got the